Hunter Biden's friends say he found himself a new sugar brother. Don't even know what that means, and I'm a little scared to find out. But it all involves this story from CBS News telling us that he enlists a Hollywood mega lawyer for counsel and funding. And funding is a big part of this. Several $1 million apparently coming from this newfound sugar brother to pay some of Hunter Biden's tax delinquencies. And this new sugar brother even went so far as to travel overseas to investigate this movie that's being created right now called My Son Hunter. It's a biography about Hunter Biden and Joe Biden and the scandalous business affairs that he was involved in. We've covered much of that here. Ukraine, Burisma, all of the interesting contracts that he was creating to funnel money various places, even though he's got no experience in it. He hired this new Hollywood mega lawyer. He shows up on the scene where they're recording the video, the new movie, and is starting to poke around. The guy's name is Kevin Morris. He's an attorney known for crafting a $550 million licensing deal for South Park. Later won a Tony Award for The Book of Mormon, and now he's crafting legal and media strategy for Hunter Biden. You can see a photograph of him here. His office confirmed this was happening when they were reached this week, but it declined any further comment. And we're going to go through this because the New York Post has a different interpretation of that. But this is what he's providing: support, financial backing. He's a high-powered Hollywood attorney, and he's awaiting a lot more details about the federal investigation that's taking place in Delaware, which I'm sure is going to be totally above board and without any conflict of interest. Under investigation in Delaware, where Biden has been living and residing and a senator for many years, before he was vice president, before he was the actual president. And I'm sure the U.S. attorney is just sort of doing everything by the books there. But we'll see. Of course, no special counsel has been appointed. But we learn more about Mr. Morris, this high-powered attorney, whom Biden and his friends call his latest, quote, sugar brother. Also been funding the 52-year-old's lifestyle in Los Angeles, rent and living expenses, the source said. So, I've heard about the phrase a sugar mama and, those types of things you've got between, people that might be looking for those arrangements. But this is something that is a new term to me, a sugar brother. And I'm familiar with the other relationship, but I don't know what is going on with this type of relationship or what is implied here, or what Hunter Biden has to do in order to get some of those benefits. But if we are talking about the same behavior and conduct that we've covered here on this channel, well, we know that he has no problem at all exporting American interests for a little cash. And so if he needs to sell access to his daddy or anything that might be in Mr. Morris's interest, well, he's got the president literally a phone call away. The attorney, this guy, also been advising the president's son on how to structure his art sales, according to the source, which is just perfect. Of course, that's not money laundering. Hunter Biden is a very qualified artist. He's able to draw COVID virus particles all over canvas, and also some of them look like mucus and milk and sort of moldy mildew. But, he's working on it. When the Post attempted to contact Morris, and remember what CBS told us previously, they said that he was declining further comment. When the Post went and attempted to have a conversation with him, they went to his residence to ask about his dealings with Hunter Biden. His wife slammed the door in the reporter's face and refused to answer questions. So a little bit, a different interpretation of just simply declining further comment. It was a slam the door in the face and get out of here, which you can understand. If somebody's coming to your front door, you might have a similar reaction. A little bit more about Morris. He is the founding member of a law firm called Morris, Yorn Barnes. He's no longer with that firm, but that firm represented some major A-listers that I'm sure you have heard about. People like Matthew McConaughey we have here. We have Ellen DeGeneres, Scarlett Johansson, Liam Hemsworth, and Chris Rock. No longer works over there at the firm. He also published a book in 2014 called White Man's Problems, and I read some of that. I have some excerpts at the end of this video. 2016, he published his debut, also another book, and he got Amazon's Best Book of the Month. He is, as I mentioned, somebody who is not opposed to really digging into this. And so now, as sugar brother to Hunter Biden and one stone's throw away from the presidency, he's got a major interest in making sure that the family's affairs are cleaned up nice and tidy. And he's doing a good job of that. So good, in fact, he went and infiltrated the set of the film My Son Hunter. Daily Mail with an exclusive here says that Hunter Biden's lawyer, the same guy who paid off the $2 million of his overdue taxes for Hunter Biden, he flew to Serbia to spy on My Son Hunter, the movie set, and interview the cast and the crew member under a false guise. Caitlin Corral, U.S. political reporter for the Daily Mail, came out with this story, and you can see this mock photograph of Hunter and Joe Biden. And they had the photograph of Hunter and Joe. It's sort of in this weird, goofy photo like this, and they're recreating it for the actual film. Over on Twitter, we saw the Twitter account, My Son Hunter. They said Kevin Morris, the attorney, and his crew spent large sums of money to weasel their way onto our set. They misrepresented their intentions, and they proved to be deeply involved with Hunter and the Biden family. So that's pretty interesting. You know, what's going on here? This is an actual movie. This was being filmed by, it's starring actually Gina Carano. I think she was somebody who captured a lot of headlines when she was thrown off Twitter. Underreported Story Society is developing the film. They raised $2.5 million. Gina Carano, Robert Davi's the director. Gina Carano is going to be playing a world-weary Secret Service agent in the film. Instantly intriguing. Robert Davi reached out as soon as I was canceled. Production began late in October in Serbia, lasted about 4 weeks. We have John James acting as Joe Biden, had an offset injury, had to go to the hospital. But the movie has finished and it's currently in post-production. And so the lawyer went over there and he was just poking around, trying to see what kind of dirt they were saying about Hunter and the Joe Biden family. Daily Mail says he ended up spending more than $2 million on behalf of Hunter when he was paying off his debts. But now, several emails and conversations that came out, Morris apparently failed to disclose that he's representing or working on the legal and the media strategy for Joe Biden's son. Now, I don't know if it sounds like he is still an attorney. And if he's doing things that are unethical, you know, if he's saying, sort of using false pretenses or proffering forward that he's somebody who he is not, you know, that kind of fraudulent behavior and that type of stuff is really frowned upon by state bars, the licensing agencies that make sure attorneys are acting openly and honestly. If an attorney is sort of advertising themselves in a way that is disingenuous or dishonest and trying to gain leverage in certain situations, and somebody reports that to the bar typically will look into that. Now, I don't know if it's going to be that situation here because this is Hunter Biden. All of this is taking place over in Serbia. There needs to be a complaint. This needs to be something that would work its way up into the state bar of California or wherever this guy is licensed. But we know that sometimes these types of inquiries or these types of rules are applied very selectively. Can't rely on that to be something that is applied in this case towards somebody who happens to be a very favorable political family at the current time. A little more from the Daily Mail. They tell us filmmakers claim that Morris was particularly interested in the content of the movie, including what sources they had for their information and what they knew about how the Hunter Biden laptop came into the hands of the media. Questions were asked during a formal sit-down, during interviews, but also during dinners and in more casual settings. McAleer fears that the supposed film crew was recording off-the-record conversations, and so maybe they were infiltrated by spies. They seem to never switch off the camera. Now I know why. This was an information gathering exercise by a lawyer and his associates for their clients. My Son Hunter is currently in post-production. Once again, this is the beautiful photograph, the recreation of Hunter and Joe Biden in the warm, loving, fatherly son embrace that they are recreating for the big screen. We also know a little bit more about the representation here. President Biden's son, Hunter, maintains a robust New York-based legal team. They're handling the president's son's ongoing legal probe in Delaware. Morris has been operating behind the scenes and has turned his attention in recent weeks to conducting a forensic analysis and investigation into what happened to Hunter Biden's laptop, including how the device became public, sources familiar with his efforts say. And we are very familiar with this. We covered all this in detail. Hunter Biden was and may potentially still be a crackhead. And so he was involved in a lot of crackhead activities, one of which was dropping his laptop off for repair, probably after he dropped it when he was high on crack. And it needed to be repaired, fix the screen, get some of the residue out of the keyboard, whatever. And that required him to take the laptop in there. And because he is a crackhead, he went and probably got high again And then the whole thing was sort of just forgotten about because he moved on to the next thing. Well, the laptop repair owner happened to have that, had access to it, saw some pretty ungood things on there, and turned it over to the authorities. We covered all this, FBI. They had all of this before it ever went public, but they did everything possible to conceal this story, including efforts on how the device became public. We already detailed that. Entering a bruising political fight, according to CBS, has been an unusual move. He made a ton of money. Why would he be involved? Hunter Biden could not be reached for comment, of course, but his criminal attorney, Christopher Clark, could. Confirmed that Morris is serving as an attorney and trusted advisor to Hunter Biden. And he's also a sugar brother. He's been working on a documentary that has been chronicling Hunter Biden's life and other Democratic Party sources. A source familiar with the arrangement between Hunter and Morris said that Hunter had his past due tax debts paid by the attorney. Hunter Biden and Morris both live in the Los Angeles area where the president's son has been living while painting and selling his artwork, his mucus paintings. Yeah. At one time, the law firm Morris founded was representing a bunch of famous people. Morris has also authored 2 novels and a book of short stories. We see some of those here. He wrote White Man's Problems. It's $2.99 on the Kindle. And I actually read through some of it. You can see here, I took a couple excerpts of it. I'm not going to get into it. He's sort of mocking the white male problems of having too much money and having too many things and taking too many drugs like Lamictal and Budoprion XL. I said I was going to read from his short stories here at the end, but now we're going to skip that. He doesn't really need it, and it's not worthwhile anyways, but he does have some stuff on Amazon. One of them is talking about white man's problems, and so you can get the gist of it, not a whole lot to dive into. But the Hunter Biden and Joe Biden family portrait is incomplete until we can really introduce the new family, sugar brother. And the question, of course, is what has to be involved in order for this relationship to be beneficial, profitable for Mr. Morris? What kind of benefits does he get out of this? Well, we'll see. It's got to be worth something. He's paying millions of dollars, funneling it out for Hunter Biden. What is he receiving in return? We'll continue to follow. I hope you join us on that journey. Would love it if you subscribed before you got out of here. And if you enjoyed this, if you thought this is ridiculous, what's going on? What is a sugar brother? And how does this whole thing function? And maybe you want to have a conversation with somebody about it. I'd love it if you shared this video with them. And if you happen to know anybody in the state of Arizona, before we get out of here, who has been charged with a crime, I always forget to mention this in the middle of the videos, but I would love it if you referred them to our law firm. We are passionate about helping good people charged with crimes find safety, clarity, and hope in their cases and beyond that in their lives. Free case evaluations. Link is down in the description below. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one.